farmers thought they were being attacked by aliens. But what was actually causing it is so much funnier. This is a wallaby, the kangaroo's vertically challenged little cousin. Now, to get a little more specific, this is a Bennett's wallaby, native to my home state of Tasmania. And that location is very important to the story. Tassie is home to a lot of things. Beautiful views, a seal with a felony record, and the nut. However, one thing they tend to leave off the tourism brochures is drugs. Tasmania is the world's largest exporter of legal opium, the main ingredient in opioid painkillers like morphine, with this one tiny island producing 50% of global supply. Now, opium comes from poppy milk, and to get poppy milk, you need to milk poppies. And to produce that 50% of global supply, Tasmanian farmers grow huge fields of these things across the north of the state. However, because throwing these flowers into a crafting table gives you narcotics, these fields are legally required to be under extremely tight security. Which is why these same poppy farmers became extremely confused when crop circles showed up in the plant equivalent of a Town Hall 9 Clash of Clans base. They were understandably absolutely bewildered by this, and some people even thought it was aliens. So to figure out whether or not it was a Halo Elite drawing this shit, they set up some cameras. And what they saw was this little shit breaking into the field, eating the milk-filled buds, getting absolutely eyed, and then hopping in circles until he passed the out. They thought the Covenant were invading, and it was a drink-driving wallaby. People are scared of snakes. But have you ever wondered what snakes are scared of? The answer is this bird. Introducing the secretary bird, native to the continent of Africa, and a prime example that being a hater pays off. Coming in at 1.3 meters tall and 4.27 kilos in weight, this lanky turkey has been purpose-built, nay, expertly engineered by the gods themselves with the sole purpose of violating the ever-loving out of any garden hose that so much as looks at it the wrong way. You see, these bad boys are birds of prey, but unlike their cousins in the same category, they are primarily terrestrial, which means they spend most of their time on the ground. This is because their preference for diet is sentient slithering sausages. However, with this thing being endemic to Africa, their preferred meal also just happens to include some of the deadliest predators on the fucking planet. Does this stop the secretary bird? No, mate. Despite having no natural venom resistance, these absolute fucking gigachads will eat cobras, boomslangs, and black mambas without breaking a sweat. But how do they hunt these things without getting bitten? Simple. They just kick the fuck out of them. You see, those long-ass legs aren't just for show, as a secretary bird is capable of accurately curb-stomping a snake's head into the ground with a force equal to 5 times their fucking body weight. So when a secretary bird fancies a bite to eat, they start out by stomping the ground around dense vegetation. This causes snakes in the area to poke their heads out of their houses to see what the f is going on. The snake then looks up in horror as the secretary bird locks onto him, sprints over at Mach 9, and then... 1A! 1A! is a serial killer.
Jesus f***ing Christ, you're the Bay Harbor Butcher.
I really hate that name.
Introducing the Shrike, a group of feathery friends found all over the world, including the land down under. Now, at first glance, you may be thinking to yourself, how could this sweet little guy be a vicious killer? I mean, he's so tiny. They only grow up to around 30 centimeters and cap their weight out at 90 grams. And on top of being about as threatening as a fucking teddy bear, look at their claws. A shrike trying to end anything with its talons is like trying to stab a hippopotamus to death with a fucking pool noodle. Listen to the thing, it sings like it's on American Idol. It's a songbird, a branch geek. You'd never heard a fly. But I'm fucking onto you, Tweety.
You give me the f***ing creeps, you know that, Dexter?
You may have everyone else fooled, but I know exactly what you are, because shrikes actually have another name. They're called fucking butcher birds. Yeah, that's right, the Dexter jokes actually had a fucking point. You see, when the Bay Harbor butcher bird wants to hunt, they first start by selecting a target.
Tonight's the night.
Now, unlike Dexter, their code tells them they can eat whatever the f*** they want. Insects, mice, f*** me, even
lizard.
And once they pick their meal, they wait for the right moment and swoop on it. Now, while those claws might be fucking useless, they do have a signature weapon. That tiny hook on the end of their beak. And once they land on their victim, they slide that hook into its neck, perfectly slotting between their vertebrae and severing their fucking spinal cord. But converting their prey into a vegetable isn't enough. No. These sick fucks keep trophies. Once they have paralyzed their prey and shattered its spine, they will fly its corpse back to their larder, which is either a thorn bush or a fucking barbed wire fence. And once they get home, they fucking impale them. They will then leave that corpse there for days, occasionally biting chunks out of it, eating it like leftovers from the fucking fridge. Dexter collected blood slides. These fuckers create kebabs. The world's biggest spider. But why the f*** is it that big? Introducing Theraphosa blondie, a tarantula surprisingly not native to Australia for once. It's found on the other tyrannid hive continent, South America. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Yeah, this thing is fucking huge. Coming in at a frightening 175 grams in weight and 12 inches in leg span.
Damn, boy, he's thick!
And those legs are not the only place it's packing inches, because Shelob's cousin here is packing fangs that measure a huge inch in length. For scale, that is like a 6-foot human packing canines the length of a fucking ruler. But the important question, why the f*** is it so big? And the answer is that I have withheld information from you. You see, I introduced this girl by a Latin name. She's much better known as the Goliath bird eater tarantula. That's right, this EDF-sized spider, not unlike me, would fucking kill for some KFC. Literally. These bile titans will quite happily hunt birds, Remy, frogs, and even
lizard.
And they do all of this without a fucking web. Yeah, Goliaths are a pure melee build, hunting by prowling the jungle floor, sensing for movement with incredibly sensitive hairs on their legs. These hairs pick up vibrations in the air, which tell them when something is close. And once their spidey sense tells them that Remy's in range, they fucking jump him, biting him with those daggers they call fangs and injecting him with fucking neurotoxin. Can I go 1 week without covering neurotoxin? Of course this thing has it too. You know, I give up. I give up. They then drag their prey back to their burrow and spit up acidic digestive juices in order to suck their prey up through a straw. Bird can straight hit you with a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Finish him.
Introducing the cassowary, a species of ratite native to the land down under. And for once, guys, it's not venomous. Can still flatline you though, and I'm going to tell you how. You see, these neon chickens belong to the same family of birds as the emu, and as such share their impressive size, coming in at a solid 79 kilos and growing up to 6 feet tall, meaning the short kings in my audience could, in theory, mount these things like a chocobo. But what makes them stick out from emus? Well, you see, the cassowary is basically a spec ops emu, being twice the weight, highly territorial, and most importantly, coming with a combat knife strapped to their foot. That's right, this is a cassowary claw, and it's the reason they can hit you with a fighting game finisher. You see, these claws are a full 5 inches long. And you know, I mean, honestly, 5 inches, way too big for anything, and especially for something that's going inside me. And if you anger the tactical assault turkey, that is exactly what you're gonna get, as their go-to defense method is to kick you square in the gut with that kitchen knife and attempt to disembowel you. And I mean, even if the kick doesn't put your insides on the outsides, that kick is still going to send you flying, which can cause some fairly major problems. Problems like the incident that occurred in 2012, where you not, a cassowary ran up behind a random tourist, hit the heavy attack button, and kicked the guy down a small cliff into the ocean. I mean, luckily he survived, but the fact that I live in a country where at any point I could be hit with a sneak attack by a kaiju turkey is terrifying. Bird is a vampire. Introducing the vampire groundfinch, native to the Galapagos Islands, and a great example of the horrifying affronts to the universe that evolution can produce when it decides to do a little trolling. Now you see, at first glance, this is the most boring vampire you can possibly imagine, coming in at a measly 12 centimeters and a mere 20 grams in weight.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
Rocking a feather pattern I can best describe as a Minecraft dirt block, and as it turns out, the bastards that wrote Twilight lied to me because it doesn't even fucking sparkle.
This is the skin of a killer, Bill.
So if it's missing fangs, angst, a cape, and the funny accent,
You must bounce on it.
how does it qualify as a vampire? Simple. Drinks a shitload of blood. You see, most birds eat seeds and insects, and while the vampire finch can eat those too, there is a problem. They live on an island, and that island is very small. In fact, they're only found on 2 of the Galapagos Islands, and small islands means a far smaller amount of that food to go around. To the point where these finches can't rely on it as their sole source. Which for a bird usually isn't a problem, because, you know, they don't need a plane ticket to just f*** off and fly somewhere. However, as the name suggests, the vampire ground finch can't fly for shit. So, how do they get their food? They suck it out of someone that can. This, don't laugh, is the Nazca booby. Hey, stop giggling back there. Another species of bird native to the islands. They are very strong flyers that feed on fish. They also nest on the islands, which is where our feathery Nosferatu comes to play. You see, when the boobies, stop giggling, come to roost, the vampire finch will sneak over and hop onto their back. Then, using their razor-sharp beak, they will poke a very small, borderline painless hole into one of the bird's flight feathers. Once the blood is flowing freely, the vampire finch gorge themselves on it. See, as it turns out, blood is macro-friendly. And considering these things are living creatures, they just make more blood. In essence, giving the vampire finch an infinite food source. In fact, they can get so much blood from these birds, it is not uncommon to see multiple finches sucking from the same booby. I'm sorry, I can't say that shit without cracking up. this thing T-pose, run. Introducing the anteater, a goofy little creature native to Brazil, and to understand why the absolute stance on this bad boy is a threat to your health, you're gonna have to understand a little about his lifestyle first. Now listen, I know this may come as a shock to you, but the anteater eats ants. And weighing in at 40 kilos and 1.8 meters in length, he needs to consume upwards of 40,000 ants per day. Now, in order to help him hit his bulking goals, the anteater has a mystery mouse tool stored inside that Excel sniffer. A 60 centimeter long tongue, designed to snake its way down an ant colony's tunnel network, smash into their living room, and abduct the entire cast of Bug's life and convert them into a high-calorie meal. However, what that tongue do only goes so far, as an ant colony can extend up to 4 meters underground, and termites live in high-rises, which means our boy here is going to have to do a little excavation to get to the goods. But last I checked, an anteater can't go down to Bunnings and buy a shovel. So how does he dig? Oh, that's simple, with the combat knives he has for claws. Yeah, anteaters are permanently cosplaying Freddy Krueger, with a set of 4-inch claws, which, proving the effectiveness of a few inches, can crack through f***ing concrete. Now, these work great for digging, but they are also more than capable of flatlining you. When threatened, the anteater will rear up into a defensive T-pose. This is your sign, if you are smart, to turn around and f*** all the way off. If, however, you were, say, some dumbass trophy hunter who really felt the need to try and stab an animal for no reason other than ego, the anteater will swipe at you with those claws, which are at the perfect height to nail your inner thigh, slip through your flesh like butter, and sever your femoral artery, causing you to bleed out in 2 minutes while the anteater watches you go meet your ancestors. Can you imagine having to explain to your ancestors who felled woolly mammoths you got your shit packed up by the most unserious creature on the planet hitting a T-pose? Just found a new shark. And of course, being from the land down under, it's fucking weird. Introducing the brand new Western Australian lantern shark. As the name suggests, discovered by a team of scientists off the coast of Western Australia. Now, as with the overwhelming majority of weird shit in the ocean, the Ozempic shark here is found in the deep sea, sharing a postcode with the anglerfish, that one xenomorph shark, and, now, despite the word shark making most people think of something a little closer in size to, I don't know, Bruce, Slenderman's fish sonar over here only grows up to 30 centimeters. This little guy shares a weight class with a fucking foot long. But I mean, honestly, I still personally think 30 centimeters is way too big. He could be just as good as the other sharks if he was, you know, let's just say 3 inches. However, other than being built like a fishy USB cable and owning a property in rock bottom, what makes him so weird? Simple. He fucking glows.
Throwing flashbang.
But fucking why? Well, you see, these bad boys are found in the twilight zone of the ocean, around 1.2 kilometers below the surface. A place so fucking far down, it sees less sunlight than the inside of a Gacha addict's room. And so, lantern sharks evolved bioluminescence on their gills and fins in order to fucking communicate with one another. The glow is the evolutionary equivalent of a fucking indicator, showing that a literal abyss shark is more intelligent than your average BMW driver. I don't think you understand just how old sharks are.
We got a boomer.
See, I'm not just talking individual sharks. Hammerheads, Bruce from Nemo, Jeff. Your average shark lives anywhere between 20 to 80 years. Nothing all that special. I'm talking sharks as a species. Because as a concept, sharks are f***ing one-tricks. They have mained this class through every single balance adjustment Earth has thrown at them. From climate change, to the Ice Age, to that time God decided to punt a rock at Barney the dinosaur. Yeah, when it comes to prehistoric shark species, most people think of the megalodon. That big boy the size of a kaiju that was swimming around in the ocean around 26 million years ago. Which might sound like a long time, but as far as sharks go, this thing's a f***ing zoomer. Go back around 250 million years to the early Triassic, before the literal dinosaurs, and you'll find Helicorpion, a shark with a f***ing buzzsaw for a mouth. 250 not far back enough for you? Go back around 300 million years, and you will find Adestus, the f***ing pog shark. And if that is still not far back enough, you can go all the way back, right to the beginning, to the first recognizable shark, Doliotis problematicus, at 410 million years old. Sharks have existed for 4 times longer than Saturn has had f***ing rings. The first tree only sprouted out of the ground 385 million years ago. That means that for 25 million years, Groot's great-great-grandfather was sat in God's drafts while this f***er chased Nemo. Has dancing spiders. Allow me to introduce you to the land down under's most fabulous arachnid, the peacock spider. Now, this 8-legged pride flag is not remotely dangerous to humans. It's got f***all venom, tiny fangs, and as far as size goes, they're the spider equivalent of a f***ing gnome. What makes these little guys interesting is their love lives. You see, not unlike normal peacocks, it's only the males of the species that are running the RGB gamer lights. But why are they built like a Razer laptop? Well, because spiders can't just post up with a dead fly on Tinder and start swiping. No, the boys here have to attract a lady the old-fashioned way. Shake an ass. You see, in order to find a mate, peacock spiders head out to the club and find a lady across the dance floor. They then lock eyes with her, and as the song changes, they raise that coloured dump truck to the sky, start playing Dance Dance f***ing Revolution, baby. Now, as he dances, the female spider watches very closely, not only paying attention to the movements of the dance, but also the f***ing vibrations. And if our protagonist here can nail Osu Valentine's Edition just right, the female spider will slowly approach, lean in for a kiss, and... But, here's the thing. If he f***ed up the dance, he fails the charisma check. And if he f***s the charisma check, he's no longer boyfriend material. He's a f***ing Happy Meal.
And all the time that you're wasting all of our bridges burn.
Has a gun. No, this isn't a Fortnite skin. This is a real f***ing animal, and it's called the pistol shrimp. Now, unsurprisingly, being named after a firearm, of course it's f***ing native to the United States of America. Where the f*** else do you think you were going to find it? However, they can actually be found expressing their Second Amendment rights over the majority of the globe too. Now, coming in at a huge 2 inches, it is not the size of his body that makes him special, but the caliber of the big iron on his hip. Or should I say big claw? You see, that oversized right pincher isn't just because he forgot to, switch hands while doing homework.
Gary!
No, mate, that claw is basically fucking Mega Man's arm cannon. But last I checked, they can't call in an ammo resupply under the sea. So how does the claw become a gun? The answer is bubble. You see, these bad boys hunt smaller shrimp, and they start that hunt by jumping off the fucking battle bus and looking for prey. Once they get within effective range, they will literally cock their claw like the hammer on a revolver. Weapon ready, they line up the shot, take aim, and
Counter-terrorists win.
they snap their claws together so fucking fast, it causes an underwater vacuum, creating an explosive cavitation bubble hotter than the surface of the sun. This bubble is then launched at the enemy at over 100k an hour. The bubble then connects with the smaller shrimp and f***ing flashbangs it. This either kills it outright or stuns it long enough to be consumed. Poor little fucker got quickscoped by Faye Shrimp. Isn't a tree, it's a fucking bird. Introducing the tawny frogmouth, a species of bird found in the land down under, and Australia's very own avian equivalent of a maxed out Skyrim stealth build. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, it can't be that stealthy, I can see it. Yeah, you can see that one. Did you see the one right fucking next to it? Now, the important question is, why the fuck do these things have predator camo? Well, there's 2 reasons. First of all being, it's fucking Australia. You see, these bad boys are primarily nocturnal, staying on the move during the night and dive bombing unaware insects to meet their bulking goals. However, that means that during the day, they sleep. And in a country where at any point you can be bitten, mauled, stung, or fucking drop-kicked to death, laying down in the wrong spot can turn a short nap into the forever sleep. So, in order to prevent themselves from becoming an item on a Snake's KFC order, these tactical chickens evolved the ghillie suit to basically allow them to fucking disappear. Being practically invisible allows them to unlock their second passive, fucking DoorDash. You see, these guys are so fucking good at cosplaying a stick that not only do predators mistake them for Groot, but so does their prey. And so, whenever they take a nap, they just leave their mouths open a little bit. And whenever some poor ant just tries to walk his way to work, he instead DoorDashes himself directly into its fucking mouth. Breathes through its butt. No, this is not a joke. This is a Fitzroy River turtle, native to the land down under, and as with most of the shit found in God's drafts folder, its existence begs a single question. Fucking why? Well, these little guys are freshwater bottom feeders, snatching and consuming the children of aquatic insects and munching down on the occasional ribbonweed salad. And as with most river turtle species, this requires them to spend most of their time in the water. Now, rather than doing what most turtles do and developing an insane lung capacity, the Fitzroy decided to evolve a set of gills alongside their lungs to allow them to stay underwater for 3 weeks at a time.
Hello, how are you?
3 weeks later.
I am under the water.
However, when placing the gills, God was absolutely fucking plastered. And instead of placing them on the neck like a normal animal, he slipped on a beer can and not only placed them on its ass, but inside of it. And you know what makes this even worse? Turtles do not have a single-purpose hole like you or me. They have a cloaca, which is the fucking Swiss Army knife of holes. This means that Fitzroy River turtles shit, piss, breathe, and fucking mate out of the same hole. Tree grows grenades. You see, this is a sandbox tree, native to South America, and before we even address the frag grenades growing in the branches, we are going to start at the bottom of the tree, because I feel it's important that you understand that this tree was designed from the roots up by God himself to fucking hurt you. Growing up to a staggering 60 meters in height. The first phase of the fucking boss fight that is this tree is the giant, inch-long, rock-solid bark combat knives covering the thing from top to bottom. Now, if Groot's cousin being armed like the average British resident was not enough to stop you from getting too close, touching the tree will immediately make you realise it is not ribbed for your pleasure. It's for your fucking poison. Yep, as if the spikes weren't enough, the sap of the sandbox tree is very fucking toxic, causing severe itching and rashes on contact, and if you some fucking how get it into your eye, it will temporarily blind you. That all pales in comparison to what you came here for. The reason, the other name for this thing, is the fucking dynamite tree. The fruit. You see, these fruits aren't meant to be eaten. In fact, they're poisonous. Put it in your mouth, you'll cramp up, vomit, and shit yourself. No, they are made to spread the seeds of the sandbox tree in the most American way humanly possible. Explosions. The fruits are basically seed-filled time bombs. As once mature, they begin to dry out. As they dry, they shrink, and they slowly begin bending against their stems. The tension gets too high, snaps the fibers holding it against the stem, and the whole thing explodes like a fucking frag grenade, sending seeds flying up to 240 kilometers an hour.